to provide this monthly program virtually so that people from anywhere can join us. And you are in for a treat today. This is one of our most highly requested virtual events and in-person events, actually. And so we're thrilled to have that. If you could do me a favor to get us going, open up your chat box on the bottom of your screen if you're on your computer, and make sure you introduce yourself in the chat. So we're seeing a lot of people. Good morning, Anna from California. She's in HR, and Val, Operations Phoenix. That's where I'm based. Shannon, outside of St. Louis. Good morning. I saw somebody dropped in here from Orlando. I was just there, got home last night. It was beautiful in Orlando. Hi, Jeff from Chandler. So make sure you're introducing yourself in the chat so that we can connect with each other. The other thing we would encourage you to do is to drop in your LinkedIn profile. So you can see, if you scroll up in the chat, Colleen. Hi, good morning, Colleen. She's one of our awesome career coaches. So if you can click on her link that she dropped in there, and it will shoot you right out to her LinkedIn profile so you can connect with her. It's one of the ways that we do network with each other. Because we're virtual, we try and find interesting and new ways to connect with each other. And that's one we found that works really well. So drop in the chat your LinkedIn profile URL, as well as your name or where you're calling us from, and make sure your name says your name, and then also what kind of work you're looking for. And it would be great to connect. So thank you so much for that today. And we have been doing this work for about going on 15 years now. And so it's super exciting, but at a time we also understand that it can be really, really hard for people that are going through it. Regardless of how we tell you the economy is looking, we can be in a great place, or we can be in a recession, or, the economy can kind of just be in the middle. Regardless of that, it is still hard when you're looking for a job, and it kind of often can feel defeating or lonely. And so we are here to try to make that a little bit better for you, to give you resources, connections, and then hope so that you know your next step forward. So we're all about building a stronger community. We know we do that through careers. And so that is what we're about, empowering you to make the right choices as you move forward. I want to go through some of the tech stuff real quick so you know how this is going to play out today. Again, everyone, you're finding the chat. Great job. Chat is on the bottom of your screen. There's an icon, and it says chat. If you click on that, it will open up the chat box. Our chat box is a great place to ask questions. I will be moderating the panel today, so I'm going to be watching the chat. You can ask resume questions. You can ask LinkedIn questions. But on here, when you ask questions on here, it's not your individual LinkedIn profile, your individual resume. We are talking about generic questions about that. When you get to the breakout rooms in about an hour and a half at around 10:30 Mountain Standard Time, so we go into breakout rooms. There you can ask individual questions about your LinkedIn profile, about your resume, because you'll be meeting with coaches in those rooms that are volunteering their time, that are helping us coach. So drop your questions in the chat. I will try to get to most of them, the ones that I can get to, but we also have a ton of questions that we're going to ask the ladies as well. We're going to touch on resumes, and we're also going to touch on LinkedIn profiles, LinkedIn today as well. So that's where you ask your questions. For the display, really today you can do, the best view is going to be side-by-side speaker view, but we're not going to have a lot of PowerPoint showing today. So after this initial conversation, we're going to go into the panel, and you'll see the people that are speaking only. So the speaker view is just fine. And then make sure you do stay for the breakout rooms. The breakout rooms towards the end, we have a whole bunch that'll be LinkedIn. All the ladies that are talking about resumes today will be also in the room. We usually have some really awesome resume coaches that are on the call, even if they're not speaking, they're answering questions in the chat. So again, ask all your questions you want in the chat. We have some great people on the call to answer those for you. We do have closed captioning available, and that is at the bottom of your screen. It says show captions. And so you can click on that. And then here is the next slide here is our agenda today. So we're gonna do the Red Hot Resume panel. And you'll hear from Brenda, Mariah, Lori Norris, and Donna Tucker, who I will introduce to you all in just a minute. And then we're also going to do about a 15-minute focus on LinkedIn because we get a lot of questions about LinkedIn as well. I will close it out around 10:15 or so, and then we'll go into the breakout room. So you can see a list of the type of breakout sessions that we have available here. Now, we're bringing to you some of the best in the industry when it comes to resumes. And so if you don't have your resume in front of you, I encourage you to either pull it up on, if you have a second screen, or print it out real quick and have it next to you, or get a piece of paper because you're going to want to write some notes here. This program is being recorded, so you can always go back and watch the recording at any time. And we actually have some of these events we've done previously that are out there. But today we're going to have some focus time on AI that might be a little different than what has been out there previously. And so make sure you're ready with something to write with. And because there's, again, going to be a lot of content you're going to be very interested in when it comes to resumes. And I know it's going to be super helpful to all of you. So again, we've been doing this program for about 15 years. And since we hit COVID in 2020, we went to, well, initially our whole program went from in-person to online and virtual. And then now we do both. So now we have virtual programming so that we can support people across the United States. And then we do, for now in Arizona, where we're based, we do have in-person programming, hiring events, career events that happen about every other month or so. And so if you are in Arizona or looking to move to Arizona, any of our hiring events, you are welcome to come to the in-person ones, but we will always provide these ones at no cost to you and bringing great content. We do also have virtual hiring events sometimes for people that are interested in remote opportunities. And so one of those is coming up in 2 months, and I'll talk about that at the end. And just a question to answer somebody on the line that just asked, yes, this is being recorded. This will after the event today, it takes about 12 hours or so for the event to upload to YouTube. And then what we do is we will send out the email with the link to this webinar. So you will have the direct link to the webinar. You can watch it back. All right. So we are going to get started again. Drop your information in the chat. Drop your LinkedIn URL. I saw somebody ask, how do I do that? And so I am going to just drop the instructions real quick in the chat. But the quick version is you go out to LinkedIn on your browser. And easiest way for me to explain it is if you click on your picture, it will take you to your profile. That URL that's in your search bar is the URL you want to copy and paste. That URL, drop it into here, just copy and paste. Make sure it's blue, or when you hit enter, it should turn blue. That means it's clickable. So you want it to be clickable so that people can go right out to it. Okay, so we are going to get started with our expert resume panel. I would like to introduce you all to Brenda Mariah, Donna Tucker, and Lori Norris. Good morning.
Good morning.
We are going to pin our these speakers at the top so you can see. Oh, hey, Bree, you might have to do it because it's only letting me pin one person at a time for some weird reason. So Bree's going to work on that. But we are going to ask these ladies some awesome questions. And so, Lori, I'm going to start with you because you're on our screen right now. Lori, what I would like for each of you to do is, I'm not going to introduce you. I'm going to ask for you to introduce yourself and provide just a little bit of an overview of your services and your business. And, you know, I have to start off with my favorite question is one of the biggest mistakes you see on people's resumes. So not start off in the negative, kind of the funny side. So Lori, it's up to you. Go for it.
Okay, well, thank you, Jessica. Thank you for having me again, and welcome everybody. My name is Lori Norris. I have owned a resume writing business since 2004. That makes me feel really old, but it just means that I was very child prodigy. I started writing resumes at 5, obviously, and so I have been in the resume writing business. I've owned a business since 2004, but I was teaching resume writing to both high school students and adults for a few years prior to that. And so my focus and my specialty is military transition, but I work with everybody from entry level to executives. But I'm really passionate about helping military service members transition successfully out of the military. So I own Get Results Career Services, and I am also the host of the Lessons Learned for Vets podcast, which focuses on the military transition. And I would say the biggest mistake that I see is for people who are trying to appeal to everyone with their resume. So a lack of focus is the biggest mistake that I see in resumes. It's like I'm trying to appeal to everyone, and what you're really doing is appealing to no one. And if you think about it, if you're coming across as a Swiss Army knife, right, but the employer is looking for a hammer to drive that nail, they're not going to look to a Swiss Army knife to put into their toolbox. They want a hammer because they want a specialized person to do what they need you to do. And so it's really important that you tailor your resume to a specific career field and industry. And maybe if you have multiple focuses, you have multiple resumes, but a very targeted, focused resume that contains relevant, transferable skills is the way to overcome that mistake.
I love that. If you try to appeal to everyone, then you appeal to no one.
Yep, exactly.
That's great. Okay, Brenda, you're up.
Well, let's do it, y'all. Good morning. I hope everybody's fired up. It's going to be a great day. I'm Brenda Mariah, and I am the owner at Push Career Management and president at the National Resume Writers Association. I'm really operating as a consultative career coach, if you will. I like to tell people what to do a little bit, but I like to listen to and guide and help to nurture and counsel. I'm certified in professional resume writing, LinkedIn profile development, interview coaching, salary negotiation, and employment law. These are things that matter for the full landscape of your job search and career management. My background comes from engineering, technology, project management. I do have a degree in electrical engineering, y'all. So anybody, and I'm PMP certified, all the things. So my background enables me to speak tech. And so the folks who are in kind of technical spaces tend to gravitate toward me. But I really dig helping professionals get back to work, do work they love, and get paid what they're worth at the end of the day. So let's get into it today. Let's see, my biggest mistake, because I know Donna is probably going to talk about accomplishments, so I'm not. I'm going to talk about staying in demand, which is a thing that I have seen kind of more and more and more, where I'll ask even the clients that I'm working with, hey, talk to me about some of the professional development that you've been through in the last year or two. And they're like, well, I'm like, what? This is not a deer in the headlights moment. This is critical. This is non-negotiable. We are doing ourselves a disservice by not keeping up with trends, by not plugging into development opportunities and not including those things on your resume because you don't think that it is worthy because it wasn't a 4-year degree. And so there is so much opportunity to start standing out, get some keyword content, but really be honest and ethical about that thing. If you took a course on LinkedIn, make sure you put that thing on your resume and stop holding it back because you don't think it is worthy. So we got some work to do today, and I'm excited to get into it.
I love when Brenda comes in fired up and all sassy. It's gonna be a good one. It's just my favorite. All right, Donna, tell us about
She gets us all fired up, doesn't she? I'm Donna Tucker of Career Pro Resume Center. I have been in business for over 20 years. I hate to say the whole number because Lori was worried about being old. I'm just probably twice as old. I am a certified resume writer and a nationally certified online profile expert, which means LinkedIn. We just couldn't use the name in the certification. And I'm the founder of the Resume Writers Council of Arizona, which is now the Resume and Career Coaches Association, and on the executive board of the National Resume Writers Association with Brenda. I don't really specialize in anything. I'm a generalist. I've been doing this so long, there isn't anything I don't think that I haven't approached in my many, many years of writing resumes. And yes, somebody just talked about the Swiss Army knife. I just love Lori's analogies. She always has such good ones. Listen for them. There's more to come. She is just great at that. Oh, now that they talked about those two mistakes on the resume, I've just got so many more. The biggest thing is the concept of the resume or the perception of the resume. Too many people think that a resume is a history of their career. Here's all the stuff I've done. Here are all the tasks and all the responsibilities I've had. They want to copy a job description into the experience section. A resume is not simply a history. It's a marketing document. It's your initial sales pitch to the jobs that you want. But along with that, when you're marketing, you have to show how good you are at what you do. You have to prove to the people that you're good. That's where you need those accomplishments, not just statements of responsibilities or tasks or duties, but the impact of those, the results of those.
Donna, sorry, one sec. I have you muted. I'm going to unmute you. We had somebody talking. Sorry about that. Lori, I'm asking you to unmute, and Brenda also.
There we go.
There we
so
go.
Where did I leave off? I was just really just babbling here.
No, you were going into the mistake.
Oh, yeah. Well, how far did I get?
You just started. You were off for a second.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, it was about it. The resume is a marketing document. It's your sales pitch. You have to be sure you're talking to the job you want. You've got to focus on where you want to be, which is what Lori started out with. But there's so many other things too. Be careful about annoying buzzwords and keyword stuffing. Although keywords are important on the resume, just putting too many keywords on the resume isn't really talking about you. It isn't doing you any good. How about bad email addresses? When I say bad, sexy fox at whatever, gmail.com. You want it to be your name. Be careful of that, and be careful of outdated email. What are they called? Providers.
Oh,
whatever.
yeah, like
email providers. We don't want AOL on a resume. What does that say about your tech savvy? And that's so important in everything today. But I'm sure that we will address a lot of other things as we go.
That we will. Thank you so much. So I just wanted to put into context, you guys, the ladies that we have on the phone today are certified professionals. We have a local Arizona branch, essentially, called the Resume Writers and Coaching Association, RWCA. So certified professional resume writers are part of this association in Arizona. And I would assume, and you guys clarify, does each state have something like that?
Necessarily.
Oh, okay, interesting. Okay, Arizona is specific. So, but then the larger, the national organization that these ladies belong to is called I want to make sure I get it right, National Resume Writers Association.
Yes.
So that's the national one. So these ladies, Brenda is currently president of the National Resume Writers Association. Donna is the founder of the local Arizona branch and on the executive team of the National Association. And Lori, you're connected to both. I think you're serving in an officer role as well, right?
Yes, I am the on the board of the local organization. I have served for the national organization, and I'm a member of multiple national organizations.
Yeah.
No, the reason I am saying that, yeah, absolutely. Kudos to them. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of training. They dedicate their lives to this work. But it's important to understand this because we didn't ask Aunt Jane to come in that hired 3 people in 1984 to look at a resume and provide guidance. Okay? We asked the best of the best. All right. So I want you all to understand that the information you are getting here today is legit. Even if you don't like what they tell you,
Yeah.
if you don't think, oh, well, my uncle said this, and that's fine. And you choose to do what you want, but you are getting the best of the best. These ladies have the training, the current information, and know what they're talking about. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox for a second. Anyone want to add to that?
Amen.
Yeah, there you go.
Amen. Okay, so there you go. All right, so what I want to get right into it, ladies. The hottest topic right now, and I imagine in the resume world, but just in the world, essentially, is AI. And in my personal opinion, AI is on par with, remember years ago when the internet launched? Then we had this thing, social media, 10, 15 years ago start. And now we have this thing, AI. I believe it is that big of a deal. And some people are going to push back and say no. And some people are going to say yes. But what I want to know is if I just type in my experience into AI, and it creates a resume, is that the resume I should use? So talk to us about AI, artificial intelligence, the advantages and the drawbacks. Who wants to start?
Well, I guess I'll start off, but we just had a HR forum and for the Resume Writers and Coaches of Association, and that was our focus, was the use of AI and the future of AI in the careers industry. And you'll hear this a lot, like, just take your information, give it to ChatGPT, and let it spit it back out to you. And that would be like you sending me your information and not you and I never having a conversation, and I just spit your information back out. But I'm a little better trained than ChatGPT. And a good resume writer isn't going to do that. They're going to have a conversation with you. They're going to put your communication style into it. And unless you've spent all this time training ChatGPT how you communicate, how you write, then ChatGPT, let's just talk about what it does. It has scrubbed the internet, mostly from Reddit threads. So would you let Reddit write your resume for you? Probably not. And so if you think about garbage in, garbage out, that's the issue, is that AI will make stuff up. If you're a salesperson, then AI is like, oh, well, we have to put metrics in there. So AI will make up metrics and add those to your resume. I'm not going to make up metrics. I'm going to help you figure out your metrics. I'm going to help you figure out how to put some measurable accomplishments in there. But I'm not going to make things up. And so just be careful with AI. I think AI is an amazing tool for research, for getting ideas, for getting unstuck. But don't let AI take over for you. People will know if you have let AI write for you because it's got its own style of writing. So I'll let the other ladies take on from that.
I love what you're saying, Lori. And I think I agree to the point of saying, consider AI results as maybe a draft, as just some preliminary content that I can work from. It's a good foundation. But please don't get to the point of over reliance on it to do your thinking for you. One of my fears around AI is that we will lose our ability to do our own thinking. We're already not teaching spelling and cursive handwriting, and so many skills are being lost to the generations. And now to lose the ability to do our own critical thinking, I think it can be dangerous. And so just make sure you're using your own mind. Use the results as a tool, as a kind of foundational draft tool. Yes, if you have writer's block, thank you, Jeff, you said that in the chat. I think that is it's a great starting point if you are feeling stuck. And if you ever have said to yourself out loud, oh, writing isn't my strength, that could be a really good place to start. Just don't think that what it produces is the finished product and you're good to go.
I have one more item to add to their comments, is remember that there's a risk of plagiarism. There's nothing creative in the AI answers that they give you. It's all, as Lori said, scrubbed from other things. So they could be creating a resume for you that's already been created for somebody else, and that could come back and bite you too.
For the people like me, I love AI for the research to get ideas. If I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over, I drop it into that and it gives me some great thoughts and ideas. But often it's way wrong. And so you really need to watch it. But what are some tools that you guys use for AI?
We just were exposed to a tool called Perplexity, which I really like because it also does do a little bit of the lifting of citing sources. And so I feel like that's a really good tool, especially for those of you who are serious about your like online branding using LinkedIn or what have you. If you're posting content or things of that nature and you want to cite sources and be a little bit more thorough and careful, Perplexity can be a really valuable tool. So period, we need to understand ChatGPT is one type of AI tool, not all of AI. And so ChatGPT, I think, is just the name brand, just like, Kleenex tissue, all tissues are Kleenex. Well, they're not. Kleenex is a brand of some sort of tissue, but ChatGPT is one type of AI. And so get acquainted with some others. Maybe you'll find a better feel with other tools. And so Perplexity, as an example, could be a different type that may resonate with some and not others.
Great.
I like Hyperwrite.
Hyperwrite. Okay.
It's HYPER capital WRITE. It has different categories. In fact, there's for those who are having trouble with cover letters, and we still do write cover letters. It has the section that's just dedicated to writing cover letters. And it's not always perfect. You're still going to play with it, but it can be very helpful.
That's great. Colleen mentioned, you guys, Colleen is one of our career coaches. So if she's responding to your stuff, she's legit on the chat. But she did mention, make sure you're keeping all personal information off of AI platforms.
Yes.
That is very important to note. I did drop in the two Perplexity and Hyperwrite in the chat. So those links, so you can go right out to them. Also, when we send out an email today, we will be sure to attach, we have a AI guide, kind of like some of the questions you can ask it from a career and job standpoint, not from necessarily a resume standpoint, but just some like how to search, different things like that. So Bree, who is our event director, if you can make sure to add that PDF to the email that goes out today after the event, that would be great. We got that from a career coach. His name is Justin Jones, who is a director of career services at BYU. He gave us that. And so we will send that out to you guys today. A great tool for you to use and see how to ask questions in AI, since we don't have time to go into all of AI right now. Okay, thank you, ladies, so much. Really appreciate that. So let's get into some mechanics, resume mechanics stuff. What would you say if you had to pick kind of the 2 or 3 most important things? Well, each of you, 2 or 3 most important things to include on a resume. Donna, why don't we start with you this time?
Accomplishments. You can talk till you're blue in the face about stuff you've done. Duties, and I think I mentioned this earlier, duties and responsibilities. But unless there was some outcomes, unless there was some contributions to the organization you work for, unless there was some impact on the success of that organization, the duties and responsibilities are nothing more than a job description that anybody can get online and does not differentiate you from other candidates. Your accomplishments will.
Yep, and we're going to dive into those more in just a few minutes. Great. Lori, what about you?
So, and I just put it in the chat, like measurable accomplishments
Oh, yes.
whenever possible, right? So put those metrics to it. And we'll talk a little bit about that later too, I believe. So I would say your statement of value, right? What makes you as a candidate cost effective to the employer? How can you make them money or save them money? And so what really people get caught up in the fact that their resume is about them, but it's really not. The employer doesn't want to know about you. They want to know, how are you going to add value to my team? How are you going to benefit my organization? What's in it for me if I hire you, right? So answer the question in your resume through your stories, your accomplishments, and how you write about yourself of how are you going to earn the money they're going to pay you.
That's great.
I'm going to go ahead and triple down because I need y'all to make sure like this is solidified in your minds. I see it every day and I'm like, is so many people I think contact me when it's like too late. Like, okay, I've been out of work for a year now. Nobody's calling me. I'm desperate. I'm out of money. I'm like one moment away from losing everything. And I'm like, okay, let me just take a look and see what's going on. Let me give you this feedback. And I see it over and over again. Somebody that's in sales and it's just like they'll say, produced revenue growth. That doesn't mean anything to me. If you are in sales, you need to tell me how much you sold, how much you were expected to sell versus how much you sold. Like, please make this thing plain. And I want to really drill it down, bring it on home because it is that important. This is not a game. So many of the resumes that I see have like these extensive bulleted lists of what looks like a job description, responsible for this and responsible for that and manage this. And okay, but you didn't tell me anything about how good you were. And so I am still going to be at a loss and your resume is going to be in the no pile automatically because you didn't prove that value. You didn't prove that you're worth the salary that I have to offer somebody for this role. Make it worth their while. You're asking for 100K or whatever it is that you're asking for. Make sure that you're demonstrating I can bring in millions for this 100K.
I love that so much, you guys. I've seen something in the, we've been doing this for 8 years now, these resume panels or something, a long time. And you guys have been part of our program for, well, Donna, almost 15 years. And so I feel like this is the first time ish that I've really heard you all three pound in on value. We'll talk about mechanics in a minute, but it's almost the story. And so I hear that adjusting a little bit. Am I right about this? Am I hearing this right?
I think so. Certainly for me, I've been paying attention certainly over the years, but there's something about this last couple of months where I'm seeing so many of the same issues over and over and over. And I'm like, all right, time out. We know that this platform is coming. We know that Career Connectors is going to do the Red Hot resume panels. And so we have this opportunity to share it now with a couple hundred people all at one time. Everybody under the sound of my voice, you hear me, please pay attention and take heed. Yeah. This is real talk.
What I'm seeing, I think part of this is that people are so concerned about applicant tracking software systems and getting the keywords into their resumes that they just get focused on those keywords and then forget it's about them. That means that they have to write about them. Like they've said about how good they are and the value they bring to the next organization. But keywords are important, but you've got to balance that out with the accomplishments, measurable accomplishments.
That's it, Donna. I think it's real scary for people because there's so much advice. There's so many articles and so many opinions and perspectives. And it's really, really scary, especially when you're running out of money and you're trying your best and you're doing what you know to do, but it's still not working. It's really tempting to I call it tweaking your resume to death. And you're kind of tweaking it because you heard some other expert say this and maybe this other person said, I'm going to grasp at straws a little bit. That's what's happening is people are doing their very best, but it's confusing. It is difficult. This is something that the three of us have trained for years and years and years and years, like on the order of decades here. So This is not something that I expect an occasional job seeker to have mastered in a 1 hour virtual summit like this. Like, please give yourselves grace.
Yeah.
I think the job market is tough. I'm not telling you all anything you don't know. And it's easy to say like, oh, it's the ATS. It's not. Oh, the recruiters aren't looking at my resume. Well, would you read 1,000 resumes if you got them? And so how do you rise to the top? That's always the question I get. How do I stand out from the crowd? And again, that's why we are all hammering this so much, because the best way to stand out from the crowd is to have a targeted, focused resume that highlights how you can add value, what makes you worth the money. Take the focus off of yourself and put it on the employer, and you will knock the competition out of the water. Bottom line.
I love that. So next time you guys look at your resume, maybe you're looking at it right now, look at it through that lens, a different lens than you've been looking at it before. Look at it. Does this speak value? Does this speak, the impact I can make? So look, I encourage you guys, take that action item from out of this event today. And that's the first thing you can look at your resume and say, if I were not me and I'm reading this, am I seeing value out of what I'm seeing, or would I move on? That is a great, great way to say, okay, good. Awesome. I love that. So that's the foundation here that we're talking about, creating value. But let's get into some of the mechanics. We get the most questions about the actual mechanics of the resume. So let's throw it out there. Let's talk about the number of pages, font size, the style, that kind of stuff. All right, Brenda, you want to start?
Let's do it. Page number, I say between 1 and 2, and it just depends. It depends on you. It depends on your background. Certain positions, certain fields, there are going to be exceptions. But for the most part, the general corporate America kind of audience, 1 to 2 pages is going to be sufficient. Font size, 10 to 12. I like Calibri as a font. Aptos is making a little run for the leader position. But I've been toggling a little bit between Calibri and Aptos. Yeah, margins, I'd say not short, not smaller, around the edge, the perimeter of your document, not smaller than a 1/2 inch. I think these are some pretty basic mechanic things in terms of how far am I going to go back in time on the resume. 7 or 10 to 15 years is a really good kind of point to say, you know what, this encapsulates enough of my experience without going so far back that we're talking about like Y2K stuff. It's the year of our Lord 2024. We don't care about Y2K anymore. And so think about relevancy, think about things that you even still have the skill set. So I told y'all I'm an engineer. Once upon a time, I could build a whole computer. I can program a microprocessor, right? I could do all these things. And now I'm just like, what? I don't know any of that stuff because I'm so far removed from it that it no longer deserves a place on my resume. And so really start looking at your resume for software that you have on there that nobody in the whole wide world is using, but you're so proud of it because you learned it once. Like, it's time to embrace letting certain things go. I talked with a student or a recent graduate yesterday, and I'm like, at some point, if you want people to take you seriously as a professional, get some of the student language off of there. And so things like that, we have to be paying attention to. If you're an older candidate, sometimes I think we do ourselves a disservice by saying, retired military or, seasoned professional with 35 years of experience. Well, guess what? You just gave away the whole bag. You gave away all the information and you shot yourself in the foot in the process, because people who were going to discriminate, you just gave them everything that they needed to do it. So we're going to be careful out here, right?
Good.
May I add something to Brenda on the font? She mentioned using Calibri or Aptos. The point of that is you want to stay away from any font that has the little feet on it, the serifs. That just seems to be so outdated that it says something about you. You haven't done your due diligence about how to put together a resume. So be careful about that. It's not that Calibri is the only one that the only font that you can use, but it's the fact that it has no serifs on it. And when you're talking about ageism, Brenda, take the dates off your education. You do not need dates on your education. And that often will tell the story. If you got your master's degree or your bachelor's degree in the 80s, or even the 90s, it definitely puts the age on you. But if you just go back those 7 to 15 years, there's no way of knowing initially about your age. And it does make a difference whether we want it to be or not.
I heard a couple things I just want to reiterate. 7 to 15 years of experience is a good guideline. Calibre or a font without the feet on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Size 10 to 12? I don't know if I heard that.
Yep, 10 to 12.
Yeah, okay, 10 to 12.
And depending on the font, you
It
don't want
really
it
does
so
depend.
big that it looks like a first grade primer, what did they call it? But then you don't want it so tiny that it's hard to read, even though the applicant tracking software doesn't care. Once it's in somebody's hands and human eyes are looking at it, you want it to be very easy to read.
Yeah. And 1 to 2-ish pages. And you guys, what you're seeing here is, I hope you're hearing, there's not a lot of hard, like, what's the word? What am I trying to say? Like
Rules.
rules. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of hard rules. And so if you hear somebody say, you must only have 1 page, do not listen to that person. They don't know what they're talking about. You have to understand, this is like an art. It's not all science. Like, there are some things to get through the applicant tracking software that's important to know. But again, going back to the value, I just love that we started with that this time, like the value you bring. Okay, great. So you talked about the ageism. Somebody asked in the chat about graphs or pictures or anything like that. What are your thoughts on that?
So I just want to really quick talk about ageism because I've seen some questions coming by, and then I'll talk about charts as well. You know, they're like, well, what if my experience 20, 25 years ago is really important? And so you've got to weigh, how important is that experience or that name versus the ageism that might come with having a date in the 90s on your resume? And what is age discrimination based on? It's fear that you haven't kept up with changing technology, that you're, don't have the energy level and the enthusiasm for your career field. Some of those things come into play. So you've got to weigh those out. And so you can combat some of those issues, those fears, by talking about your updated knowledge, by really coming across as an energetic and enthusiastic person. But you can also, instead of putting dates, you can have an earlier career experience section and still have those names, still have that experience, but not put dates to it. So that's another way of getting around that. Just know that, like, people shouldn't know your age by looking at your resume. And so that's the one thing. And so for graphs and charts, I will just answer that one really quick. It's okay to have graphs and charts on your resume. They look pleasing to the human eye, but the applicant tracking software cannot read them. So if you've got your sales growth in a beautiful chart, but you don't have it in words, the ATS is not going to be able to read that. So just make sure that somewhere in your resume, you're putting in words what you've shown in your chart. So that's all I'll say about that.
Good. All right.
But no pictures.
Yeah, no pictures though, right?
No photos of yourself, unless you're a supermodel, but they don't really need resumes anyway. So your LinkedIn profile has your photo.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
perfectly fine, but do not put it on your resume.
That's so good. All right. I want to jump over to accomplishments. I have a trouble with this word. Accomplishment statements. So you guys have dropped that in already a couple times, and we've had some questions in the chat about it. I thought one interesting question was, how many bullets should I have for, under the experience? That's where you drop accomplishments statements, but also, should I match the job description with a responsibility under the bullet, or should I do an accomplishment statement? I would like your advice on that. So talk to us about accomplishment statements and bullets.
You brought them up, Donna. You better start.
Okay, I will. Well, I'll start with the number. We never want to have more than 5 bullets in a row, if possible. Sometimes might squeeze in 6 if you have to. But you can also have a resume that a friend of mine used to call death by bullets. When it's all nothing but bullets, nobody's going to read it. There's a purpose for bullets. It's to draw the eye into a new thought. When you've got too many, they throw up their hands, the heck with it. And if you have bullets, you want to introduce the bullets. There should be an introductory paragraph under your title, your job title, and the company that you work for and your dates. And tell me the scope of your responsibility in that short paragraph. The scope, the environment, maybe people you supervise, the client base, anything that so I can picture where you're coming from. And then your bullets, I want all be measurable accomplishments whenever possible.
Good. And when she's talking about accomplishments, we're talking about under each experience. So job that you had should have some bullets to support what you did in that job, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Brenda, any additional thoughts on accomplishments?
Yeah, just an education that I like to give in these forums is it's a way to think about what do I include as an accomplishment? What do I include as a bullet? Because if you listen to Jessica's instruction at the beginning, hopefully you have a resume in front of you or you have access to it somehow, some way. And so if I want you to look at your own respective resumes for just a moment and look at maybe a couple of your bullet points, and do they read like this? Do they read like, responsible for calling customers, responsible for following up on this, responsible for answering phones? If that's how they read currently, then this next piece is for you. Because we want to make sure that we're actually getting across the difference that you made, the impact that you had, right? This is what we're trying to get across. And one of the best ways to do that is by studying the bullets you already have. Responsible for answering phones. Okay, so what? And so you ask yourself that question, so what? And you ask yourself that question a couple of times to really get to the root of the thing, right? So what? You answer phones. Well, you say, well, I answer like 400 calls a day, right? Get mad about it. Get defensive. I don't care. Okay, so I answer 400 calls a day. So what? Well, some of those customers were really upset and I had to take notes, and I was using Salesforce and I was using all these note taking and I had to diffuse the customer. Oh, now we're getting somewhere. And so you see the difference between I answered 400 calls a day while documenting meticulous notes and diffusing customer, whatever, in our CRM system versus I answered phones. Do you see the difference between those two things and how much one means so much more than the other? That's what we're trying to get after. And so a small tool is just that so what exercise. And if you can ask yourself that 2 or 3 times, I think it starts to help draw out the right kinds of pieces from your mind. You can ask yourself how many, how fast, right? How much did I save? How much time did I save or money did I save? How many students did I teach? How many customers did I work with in a day? How much revenue did I generate? Did I win any awards? And so I'm speaking very quickly because I know you have access to a recording, but these are some of the questions that you want to start to get to the root of. And I think we gloss over it by wanting to look like a job description, and we forget the whole point of the resume, as Donna said, is to market you. It's not to list everything you've ever done. It's to make sure that they know you're worth every penny of the salary they're getting ready to offer you.
And I think, Brenda, that answers our question on should they be a list of responsibilities or should they be accomplishments? And it should be connected to both.
Yes.
So if the job description has a responsibility, how can you support that responsibility by an accomplishment that you have? Am I getting that right?
Absolutely, you are. That overview is that, as Donna said, the scope of your work, the responsibility, some of the high level duties. Those bullet points then say, okay, here's how well I did according to those expectations. Here's how much I exceeded that goal. That's what we're after here. That's what we need to be getting into. And so many times I think it could be fatigue, because quite honestly, job search is tedious and it's tiring, and I get it, and nobody denies that. But y'all know what I'm gonna say. We're not out here, we can't be lazy job seekers. We can't do it. And if we do it right, then we don't have to do it very long. That's the goal. Do it right so you don't have to do it very long. And so yeah, get to it, get the work done, get those accomplishments written out in there, and get on with this. Lori looks like
I want to share like some secret insider information. All right. I'm going to show you my secret like layout of how I write out each job. Right. So we've got the job title, we've got the company name, we've got the dates. Right underneath that, I want a 2 to 3 lines, small little paragraph that gives me a scope of your responsibilities. How many people did you manage? What was the revenue you were in charge of? Just give me an overall, like how many, you're answering phone calls for a medical practice with 30 physicians and a patient load of 15,000. Like, tell me in that little paragraph your scope of responsibility so I know what you did every day. And then we've got those 3, 5, maybe 7 if we're crazy bullets, not too many though. And those are your accomplishments, right? Bullet, here's what I accomplished, here's what I accomplished, right? And so you may have heard of the STAR formula, and that's an acronym that stands for situation, task, action, results. What was the situation that you were in, the tasks you were assigned, what action did you take, what results did you accomplish? Well, I don't like that one. I use the RATS formula because people only read the first 3 to 5 lines of a bullet. And so I want to capture their attention right up front with that result. So I go RATS, result, action, and then tell me a little bit about the task or the situation. Saved $3 million. I want to read that line if I'm a boss, right? And so start with your result, and that's how you want to write it. So there you go. I just gave you all of my resume writing knowledge, and you just follow that formula from top to bottom on your resume, and that will help you really structure it and make a difference on the way your resume is put together. Like,
that's the best yet. Yep.
Really quick, I just want to say, like, this is strategic marketing. Job searching is sales and marketing. And we've got to understand strategic marketing. And in strategic marketing, we have to know who is our customer? What does our customer want or need? And how can we meet those needs? That's how you need to think about your resume. So I've seen questions. Should I include this? Should I put volunteer experience? Is it important to your customer, to the employer that you're trying to attract? That is your litmus test. Does it go on my resume? Does the employer care about it? Yes, no, okay, then we take our little pie chart, or what's it called, flow chart, and we make our decision that way. So that's how you make your decision as to what goes on that resume. Is it important to the person reading it?
Awesome. There's a lot of questions in the chat. I know, you guys can jump on when we're done and answer some of those. Recent college graduates should include their year on their resume, correct?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Within like last 5 years, is that kind of the guideline?
5 is the max for me. I typically,
I wouldn't go any further.
Yeah,
Okay.
2 or 3, but because at some point I just understand that education is there until experience kicks in. But once experience kicks in, that will trump education every time. And so once you have some good, solid, valuable experience, lean on that more so than the degree. People just, I told you that I have a degree in engineering. Did I tell you when I got it? I did not. So, right, you don't care when I got it. You care that I have it. You heard me say, I was saying, oh, she must be smart. That's all you needed to know. Move on.
That's so good.
And with formatting, as long as we're talking about college graduates, recent college graduates can put their education first if they have no experience to support the job they're applying for, towards the job they're applying for. But after the 2 or 3 years, then it goes at the end. Once the experience kicks in, as Brenda said, then it will go at the end.
I love that. Experience trumps education in the resume world.
Yeah.
Good. All right, you guys, I want to jump into applicant tracking system. software. Sorry, Donna. Applicant tracking software.
Well, software system, you're not wrong.
So Donna, I would say, is our resident expert on this. And let's start with, though all the ladies understand it really well.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what is it? Can you answer that? And then I want to jump into how to get through it. Because I know a lot of people feel like they apply and their resume goes into this hole that they never hear back from anyone ever again. And they blame it on the applicant tracking system software.
No.
So talk to us, Donna. What is it? And kind of what are some keys to get through it?
Well, it's a tool that recruiters and employers use to streamline the recruiting and hiring process. Today in the job market, there's any really good job might have 1,000 applications. Who has time to personally review all those? So they depend on applicant tracking software. And there's hundreds and hundreds of different brands of applicant tracking software. So some of the rules you have to, some are very sophisticated and some are still kind of old fashioned. And that's why when we're talking about, the graphs and the tables and columns that you don't want to put in a resume, or because of applicant tracking software, some might be able to read it, but the older ones are not sophisticated enough to read them. But I want to be sure people know how important it is to understand it. 97% of Fortune 500 companies use applicant tracking software to find their candidates. It sorts it and it scans and sorts your resume to find keywords that it's been programmed to look for. Keywords, key phrases. They're looking for somebody who's going to match their requirements. And that goes into LinkedIn too. And we'll talk about that later, of course, but it's all about keywords. But as I said earlier, you can't just do nothing but keywords. It still has to have a nice format. It still has to be readable. You have to write it both for human eyes and for applicant tracking software. Just be careful that again, the type style, the sans serif is going to be better, because then nothing's going to touch. None of the letters can touch. It's not going to mess up the system for readability. You want things to be as simplistic as possible, but still look nice. It doesn't matter if you put color on your resume, for instance. Applicant tracking software doesn't care about color. It's not going to make any difference, but it sure will look nice when people see it. So it's that balance. But keywords, that's pretty much the thing to think about.
And how
I know I didn't say enough. Lori's got some
go
more.
ahead, Lori.
Well, I was just going to say, at its core, applicant tracking software is exactly what it sounds like. It is a way for them to find you and track you in their system. So what it does is it takes your resume that you submit and it parses information out of your resume and into their system. And so one of the things that's important, and we'll talk a little bit about it when we, later, but Donna mentioned it, like ATSs can't read information in tables, in text boxes, and in headers. So you never want to put your contact information in a formal header. If you have to double click to edit your name, phone number, address, email, there's a good chance that your resume is going into their ATS with no name, no phone number, no email. So that's really important. And I say that because Microsoft Word has templates that you can use, and almost all of them put your contact information in a formal header. So I would never recommend you use those templates because they're not designed with the ATS in mind. And so I know of companies that are, I think I saw Jessica write this, right? Companies that are small and companies that are Fortune 500 companies use ATSs of some sort. And there's thousands of them out there. So we can't tell you like, do this. This is how all of them read it, because they're all different. But we want to, just like Donna said, stay with without the feet, right? The serif fonts or the sans serif fonts. Stay away from headers, stay away from tables, text boxes. Remember, ATSs can't read graphics, but the evil ATS is not a robot shooting down your resume and saying no to you. That is false information. There is not an evil robot that is standing in your way from getting a job. Now, a human says, if they don't have a bachelor's degree, don't put them forward. If they don't have 3 years of experience, don't put them forward. A human set up a knockout question that doesn't send your resume through, right? So if you ever applied to a job and you got like within a minute, you got a no, then somewhere in there was a knockout question that was set up to screen you out. And that was, you just didn't meet that criteria that they were looking for. But a human set that up. The robot didn't do that, right? So now when we think about like how to optimize yourself in the ATS, it basically takes the candidates, scans them for keyword matches, and gives you a percentage of match. And the higher your match, the more likely you're going to be reviewed first. If you have 1,000 resumes, you're probably only going to look at your really high percentage matches because you don't only have time to read 100 of those resumes. And so that's where the keywords come into play. But we don't want to make keywords up. You might have heard like, oh, just copy paste the job posting in white font really small at the bottom. No, because guess what? When it goes into the ATS sees that. It takes white font and turns it black. And so they're going to see that you cheated. So we don't want to do that, right? But you just want to make sure you showcase that you're qualified for the job that you're applying for. So
Right. Where do you find the keywords?
So that's
From the job postings, yeah.
Exactly. So I had my hand raised because I'm like, hold on, let me almost overly
Sorry.
simplify this thing because I know, again, a lot of this is overwhelming, right? This is like second nature. The three of us, we can do this while backflipping in our sleep, right? This is like almost just, this is just what we do. But for some of you, you're just like, what? I don't understand. So here's the deal. You're online, you're on LinkedIn, you're looking at a job and it's like, ooh, this is the one. I really like this. I would love to have this position. I'm going to apply. Well, what is your first step? Are you just going to apply with the same resume you've used to apply for all the other jobs? Or are you going to take a moment? You're going to actually read and study out that job description. And you're going to say, well, they seem to care about, project management, and they seem to care about marketing, and they seem to care about, upselling, and they seem to care that I have 3 years of experience. Maybe I should take a moment and make sure that that language is present in the resume version that I'm going to use to apply for this position. Right. And so this is where when I talk about job search being a little tedious, I get it. We are overloaded. Nobody wants to do this. I understand fully. I'm with you. When I was in my own job search after being laid off, because I felt this too, I probably had about 30 different versions of my resume, because I was applying for, different kinds of roles. And I knew that this was not a one size fits all thing. And so I had to customize the vocabulary, the word choice. So it wasn't about keyword stuff and then trying to mask stuff and put it in white. Like that's just, you're cheating and you're going to get caught. It was about being smart and taking the time to do the thing right so that I didn't have to do it very long. And this is the message that I'm hoping that you all are picking up on. I'm going to take the time, study the job description. I'm going to look at the language they use, not what I wanted to say, not, well, in my company, we called it this. I don't care what you called it. Use the language that they use because that is what they're looking for. And that is the tedious part, my friends, is we shouldn't have to do all that. That is the system that we're in. But this forum today is about helping you to outsmart the system that we're in.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So many questions are coming through. I know we're getting short on time and we need to jump into LinkedIn, but I have one more resume question that keeps coming up: employment gaps. So of course we could mean COVID, taking care of a parent, raising children, layoff that extended to longer than we wanted it to. So many, just being but being unemployed for an extended amount of time. How do you deal with employment gaps?
Well, I'll say, oh, go ahead, Lori.
Oh, it's all right, Donna, you go.
I'm just gonna say, if it's more than 6 months, I would put a one-line explanation. Nobody needs to hear the details, but you can say sabbatical to get further education, caring for aging family member, just enough to say I wasn't in jail, and I wasn't in the hospital or totally incapacitated. Just enough to show that there was a reason for having that gap. But 6 months, don't worry about. And if you only use years on your resume, sometimes you don't even have to worry about that, instead of the months and the years for your experience.
I was just gonna, basically just what all I want to add to that, Donna, is I was just gonna say, like, address it and say, I'm ready to return to work full time. That's all you have to say. Is that here's what I was doing, and now I'm ready to return to work full time. Or let's say you've been a stay-at-home mom for the last 10 years, and now you want to go back to work. Well, I was just a mom. Well, BS, you were just a mom. You probably were volunteering in the classroom. Maybe you were a Girl Scout troop leader, so you were managing budgets and planning events. Like, get the word just out of your vocabulary and think about what are the other things that you were doing during that time. And so, yeah, maybe your experience is 10 years ago, and that's a different situation than what we talked about earlier, but just you got to address it. And then you've got to work on networking. Like, the more you're out there putting yourself, getting involved on LinkedIn, the more likely you're going to be referred to positions because of who you are and how engaged you are. So.
And for those of
And
you,
sometimes that volunteer experience can be used as an experience item.
Yep.
In your list, if you have enough to talk about. There's nothing on there that says you have to tell them it was volunteer. You had a title, and use it.
volunteer experience is still experience. And for those of you who maybe you weren't very involved during a break, maybe whatever, for whatever the case may be, maybe you were incapacitated and you just were not able to do very much. Today is a very good day to start. Like, start now, and now you can honestly and ethically say, to present, I was pursuing a certification. I was, doing this thing. I was doing this development. And so today is a very good day to begin.
Yeah. If you have any kind of skill set that can help a nonprofit, either in person or virtually, like, we're always looking for administrative support or people who can do some research for grants or tons of stuff. If you can give 5 hours a week, it immediately goes on your resume right now. And then I also wanted to mention, I've raised 3 teenagers. I have 2 teenage girls right now. Hardest job I've ever had in my entire life, raising 2 teenage girls. I could work 80 million hours a week and it wouldn't even come close. So when moms say I was just a mom, I get this cringe because I'm like, hardest job I ever had. Let's talk about LinkedIn for a few minutes. We might go a few minutes over, and that's okay because we have some time today. Let's talk about LinkedIn. Most people, or I don't know about most, but many people on this call today already are very well versed in LinkedIn. We're connecting online. Thank you for that. I'm also going to drop the instructions again to connect on LinkedIn right in the chat. So if you have not dropped in your LinkedIn URL, please do that. But I want to ask you ladies, what is the value of LinkedIn in the job search, and how can it help people find a job?
Wow. I'll start, and hopefully the others will join in. But the value to me is if I'm the recruiter and I'm looking for you, where am I going to go to look for you? I'm going to go to LinkedIn. And if you are not there, if you are invisible, if you are unresponsive, then you are missing opportunities very, very often. You have to be in the very place that people are looking for you. And so you kind of sitting, on your couch or, at your desk or at your kitchen table, applying for a whole bunch of jobs, you're missing the point. The very people who have access to the opportunities are on LinkedIn. So if you're not there, you're missing.
Right.
Yep.
Go ahead, Lori.
You've heard of making money while you sleep, and LinkedIn is job searching while you sleep, right? While you're off doing other things, your LinkedIn profile can be out there attracting recruiters, hiring managers to you. And there is no place other than LinkedIn where you can connect with people literally worldwide and have conversations and engage with a new network, and so I feel like it's kind of a networking for introverts. It's a way to get out there and connect with people and have conversations with people that you probably would never be able to have conversations with. You would be amazed at who is on LinkedIn and how willing they would be to engage with you there. So it is really one of the most important tools in the job search. And I would, I write resumes and LinkedIn profiles for a living, but I would put LinkedIn on the same level as a resume these days.
Yeah, yeah.
Important.
However, there's a however to that. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is optimized. That means totally filled out. It means customizing your URL. I noticed a few that were put in the chat here that still had all the funny numbers on the end. You can customize that just to be your name. You want to make sure that you have all your accomplishments in your experience section, not just the places you worked in your job titles, that you have a headline under your name there that attracts those recruiters, that says, this is what I've got to offer, that your about section tells who you are, that it's totally filled up. There's so much you can do with your LinkedIn to set yourself in front of those recruiters and above your competition.
That's great. What about how do we make our LinkedIn profiles kind of stand out? And to get to get seen by recruiters, or how do I connect with recruiters on LinkedIn? Because it feels like there's a lot of spam sometimes also. So kind of how, I asked 3 questions at once, but how do I really stand out and how do I make the right connections on LinkedIn?
Yeah, you can do a very targeted filtered search on LinkedIn. So if you go into the search bar and you click in there, it comes up with these little buttons, and all the way over at the right is all filters. And you can actually filter your search by company name, by job title. Maybe you're a veteran and you want to connect with other veterans who work for Intel. You can actually put those filters in there. And then you want to go to their profile. So don't click connect from that list of results, open their profile, and then connect from there, because it'll allow you to send a personalized note. And so how do you get in front of recruiters? You connect with them. You expand your connections. If you have a company you want to work for, go connect with a bunch of people that work for that company, because when they do searches, you're going to be in their common connections and you're more likely to show up. But it's not enough to just show up in a search. Then when they get to your profile, like Donna said, you want to have a good profile photo where you're smiling, looking at the camera. It's just you. It's not some random hand on your shoulder that you cropped from a wedding photo, that you are, it's just head and shoulders looking at the camera. You look like a friendly person that people would want to work with. You've got you've got a headline that clarifies, like, what do you do? How do you add value? What's your specialty? You have an about section that tells me a little bit about you and your personality. And then you optimize your work experience, not a copy paste of your resume, but just a little bit more of a conversational retelling of your resume highlights. And you put those keywords, those accomplishments in your LinkedIn. So you have to work on your LinkedIn just like you do your resume. So
I love that. Go ahead, Brenda.
I saw somebody asking about premium, or the value of premium. I think there is value in premium for sure. I would suggest anybody that's on a tight budget, start with free, because there's a lot you can do for free. For all these years that I've been on LinkedIn and a huge advocate of LinkedIn, I'm a free user. And so I get so much out of the free experience that it is difficult to justify the premium rate for me. There are advantages though, as a job seeker seeker where you can see, you know, kind of your analytics against other applicants for the same kind of role. So there are some benefits, but certainly exhaust every free option before you start to invest money. And for those of you who haven't done any investment in the premium, maybe do a free trial, but set a calendar, darn it, for day 29. They will charge your butt at midnight, and they will not give you your money back. So do what you have to do. Yes, thank you, Lori. You can get a free month of premium if you're active duty service member and veteran. So there are all sorts of things that you can do for free, including using that really robust search tool. The open to work feature, I think I saw that somewhere. Is that good? I like to use it, but I like to set it to recruiter only, as opposed to the big green badge that shows up around your picture. Because for me, it's an invitation to unemployment bias. And that's a whole different type of discrimination that we're having to contend with. And so we just want to be careful out here and well informed. Make your own choices, of course, right? We're all grown-ups here, but if you have good information about maybe why this is not a great idea or why this is not the best idea for me, then I can now make the right choice that makes sense for me.
Awesome.
May I say one more thing
Yep.
about LinkedIn? Is post once in a while. And it doesn't have to be anything life stopping or life changing, but demonstrate your engagement with your profession. If you what I primarily post are articles that I've read that have to do that might be helpful to a job seeker. It doesn't have to be anything special, but post once in a while about something that might be important to the industry that you're applying to.
And I have seen, if people aren't, oh, Lori, you just dropped it. I was going to say, if you share other people's posts, something you like, job search, put your comments in at the top of the post before it goes live, say post with comments. That's an easy way to start to be active and also to thank a person or get, support what they're doing. And then you'll get more. That's how the networking part of it works. So good.
I have one quick thing, guys. We're looking up your last question there. I often try to tell people, like, think about what do you want people to think about when they think of you? And that's really the question that needs to be answered with your LinkedIn profile. And so when you think of Brenda Mariah, I want you to think of your career. I want you to think of your resume. I want you to think of your interview. I want you to think of your salary negotiation, all of those things. And so those are the things that I post about, talk about, that's in my content. What should people be thinking about when they think of you? And for those of you who are like really struggling with that all that tells me is that you don't have an answer and you got a little bit more thinking to do, a little bit more goal setting to do before you just kind of create a very generic profile, right? And so really just take a moment and think, like, what is the work that I want to do? What level do I want to operate at? What kind of industry do I want to work in? Ask yourself these questions. And once you have the answers, now you go and post the right kind of content and share the right content from your peers. Your yourself as a thought leader, show that you know what you're talking about in that space, because I don't want to refer you to a position if your profile says I'm an accountant, but you're telling me I'm applying for an information technology job. I can't make a recommendation for you. I won't refer you because you don't even know what you want for yourself. And you haven't taken the time to update your profile. So let's make sure we stay on top of that thing, especially during job search time. But even beyond that too, like, don't wait till the well runs dry before you start asking people for help. And now you're the one that comes out of the woodworks like, hey, I need a job. Can you help me? Like, who are you? I haven't seen you in 20 years and now you want a job? I don't even remember who you are. So be careful about just showing up in the time of need and be a little bit more consistent with your LinkedIn activity.
It's so good. Ladies, thank you so much. I want to ask you, we get all the time the question about, I need my resume done, but I can't afford it. And so, what are your thoughts on that? Because I know that we do this for free. because this is one of the ways we can help people that really have no additional funding or to be able to, you know, pay somebody. We also have the breakout rooms that you guys, anyone can go to and ask individual questions about your resume, about your LinkedIn profile. So you guys, we do this every single month at no cost. But I understand some people like, listen, I just want someone to take over my resume. I'm so stuck. What are your thoughts on that? I know, you know, I'm biased. I'm asking ladies that this is what you do for a living, but talk to me about that ROI, that value there.
I often say it's difficult, right? It's one of those things where you really can't afford not to get the help that you need. I think about when my toilet was running and I didn't know how to fix it. Somebody was like, "Oh, all you got to do is do this and change out the wiggamajiggy." And I'm like, "Oh, well, that sounds real easy to you, but when I try it, I just make a mess of things." And so, what do? Do I continue to deal with this running toilet? Do I make it worse, or do I freaking call the plumber? Well, I call the plumber. I call the expert, right? If my stomach hurts, I'm going to go to the doctor because they're the ones who can help me to understand what's going on. And so, listen, at the end of the day, you're going to make a choice. You're going to make the choice that you need to make. Your budget may or may not dictate, but I would tell you it costs you so much more to be out of work for a very
Yes.
long time than it ever will to cover the cost of investing in resume service. If you absolutely have nothing, somebody put it in here. Try the local workforce centers. Yes, Arizona at Work if you're here locally, right? This is an amazing resource. They have grant funding that can cover the cost of resume services and they can help you, but you're going to wait a minute, right? And you got to jump through some hoops and you got to answer some questions and sit in some meetings and go through some trainings and do some things. Do the things. Because it doesn't cost you money. If time you have, but money you do not, go that route. But don't rely on every Google search or Canva template or Microsoft Word template and think that that's the solution, because it's still not. Content, as we have discovered in this conversation, is the king. Content is king. And so if you don't know how to build robust content, if you think all I got to do is tell ChatGPT to do it for me, I don't even have to think about it. Good luck, because I'm going to see you here next month. Like, let's really get real about this thing. And if you're struggling, reach out for the lifeline, get the help you need, because I know I will.
Yeah, I have this on my website, but it's like, well, a resume is really more than just a piece of paper, right? A $1 bill and a $100 bill are both pieces of paper, but they're different value because of what's on the paper. And so a resume is really like that, right? And if you think about your salary, we'll just say, $50,000 salary. For every day you're not collecting that salary, you're losing $192 a day. That's what you make at $50,000 a year for each work day that you're out of work. And so, yeah, I get it. Like, and none of us are $50 resume writers. We're not, because we've all been in this business for many, many years, but all three of us give a lot of our knowledge and information away for free. I have a podcast. Brenda and Donna are out there on social media, and me are on social media a lot. And so, yeah, I understand that it's tough, but just know that, like, I rewrote someone's resume about 3 months ago, and her salary increased by $30,000.
It does
So
make a difference.
it's just a matter of how you're marketing yourself oftentimes. So I'll just leave it.
I'm sorry,
No,
Lori, didn't mean to
okay.
step on you. I like to kind of end with the question, can people with bad resumes, poor resumes, poorly written resumes get a job? Yeah, it happens. Sure they do. But how long does it take them? Is it the job that they really want? And are they at the salary level, like Lori just said, that they deserve, because they haven't presented themselves as well as they could? A professional resume can make a big difference.
So some of the questions about who should I use? Well, I'm going to recommend any of these ladies, of course. And then we have about 4 other resume writers that we work with within the Career Connectors organization. You can go out to rwca.org. That's the Resume Writers Association. No, Sorry, I got the name. You guys changed the name.
I know.
Writers
and Coaches Association.
Association. You can go to that site and go under job seekers and meet the writers, and they're there. And then the national organization, anyone can go to RWCA. It's not just Arizona people, because these ladies work virtually. But you can also go to the national organization, National
Resume Writers Association, the NRWA.org. I just put in the chat.
There you go. Thanks, Brenda. So you can go there and find somebody. And so these are the professional certified people that will tell you what these ladies are telling you. You can go to the breakout sessions and talk more. You can also do that. Each of them will take a call to talk to you through your resume, a free call to talk to you through your resume to see, you know, hey, some of you are going to need a lot of work, some of you minimal work. And so I always recommend use the template, get something on paper, try your best, and then talk to somebody to see how they can help you. But if you're completely stuck, just pick up the phone and give them a call. Anything else there, ladies?
Don't give
We
up.
covered a lot.
We covered a lot today. We went a little bit over, but that's okay, because these calls could last hours and hours. But there's so many questions. We did not get to every question that dropped in the chat. So if you did not get your question answered, these ladies are going to try and answer some of them. And then in a few minutes, we're going to go into the breakout session. So how about a round of applause for our awesome professionals here? This is our virtual wave. Thank you, ladies. We so appreciate you. This will be going into our webinar. So anyone who wants to watch the webinar back, you are welcome to do that. We're going to send that link out later today. All right, I'm going to do some closing things, and then we will move into breakout sessions in just a few minutes. So thank you, ladies. We really appreciate you being here today. All right, so we're gonna close out. I want to go through a couple things about the event today. One of the things we're playing around with, and we haven't done this, all of our career services, job support programming is at no cost. We are looking at launching a kind of a career coaching resume support service that will be a package deal. So look for that in the future. And we don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but if that sounds like something you might be interested in, can you just drop a 1 in the chat? We're trying to even see if it's something people might like, but it would be some resume support, some career coaching, maybe LinkedIn support. There would be a fee to it. We're just not sure. We want to get the best of the best. So some of these ladies may be involved in that. But we also want to discount it so it's affordable. Okay, we also are looking at some grants that might cover some of that programming. And so be on the lookout for that. Thank you. Oh, thank you for answering that. Okay, Joey, our executive director, is on the line. And Joey, there you go. There is definitely interest. And so if we're looking for some grants at this, we're definitely have some interest there. So thank you for answering that. All right, if you have any feedback today, we would love to hear from you. Please just shoot us an email at contact@careerconnectors.org. We read those and we try to adjust our programming based on what you tell us. We also are launching a new website. And so we're looking for testimonials. If anything here was helpful to you today, we would, or has been in the past, we would love any testimonials, either now or when you land your next position. And if you would be interested in helping us out and writing a testimonial, please shoot that to our email, contact@careerconnectors.org. And even better, if you're open to us sharing your LinkedIn picture or LinkedIn URL, but we would love to have any testimonials. Thanks, Joey, for dropping that in the chat. So we mentioned that the webinar recording would be live. It will. It usually takes about 12 to 24 hours. And so you can find that on our website under the webinar recording section. But also you will get an email later today that will give you the direct link. And that direct link will take you to this webinar, as well as all of our previous webinars. And so we even have one of the last speakers talk specifically about AI. So if you're more interested in that and hearing more, listen to that one. Brenda has a talk that she does for us every year. It's so good. And it's talking about ageism and race. And so all those kind of hard things, how do I, that you feel like is a stopper for you, that is out there. More of these events, we've done some previous of these webinars that have some different takes, same kind of stuff, but there's we got to some different questions. Those are out there. So that's a great resource for you. The DISC assessment is something we provide at no cost. And so if you're interested in that, you may take that. It will tell you about your ideal work environment, your communication style, and you can pull some of that into your resume if you would like from a soft skills perspective, but you can also utilize some of that in your interviewing. And then we're all over social media. So we would love to connect with you on social media as well. Thank you to our partners, many of them that make this happen. And so you can see RWCA is one of our partners because they give us stuff like this. Like the ladies have done today. They're at every one of our events, our virtual events, and provide resume coaching support services. And so again, you can talk to them in just a few minutes. We also have a partnership with Best Companies AZ. They represent some of the best employers in Arizona, and they're multiple award winners. And what they do is they help bring candidates to the companies. They're not a recruiting firm, but they are an organization that represents companies that are award-winning companies. So if you're looking for a remote or hybrid or in-person position, and you want to work for a best place to work, most admired company, many of them are on the screen right there. You can jump in and talk to, I think Jenna is on the call today from Best Companies AZ. Somebody will be on the call today in the breakout rooms, and she would love to talk to you about that. Hi, Jenna. She just mentioned that she was here in the chat. So she is awesome. You guys will love her. So she would love to talk to you about some of those opportunities. Also, we have a really cool partnership with LearnKey. LearnKey is a training certification school, and they have given us 2 free training courses. And so if you would like to get on there and take them, they have other options too that are fee-based, but we do have 2. One is a soft skill and one is an IT skill. And so I encourage you to take a look at that, especially if you're in this place where I have some more time and I maybe want to upskill myself a little bit during this time. Then I would encourage you to jump onto the LearnKey website and talk to them about their opportunities that they have. And so cybersecurity and building trust and credibility are the 2 soft skill ones. Joey just dropped the link into the chat, so you can click right in there and go directly to the LearnKey site. All right, our upcoming events. We have these events virtually every month. We are doing the next one on April 4th, and Antoine and Colleen are on the call today. They are going to be our next speakers. And so they're going to talk specifically about career fit, not just capacity, but fit. And I encourage you to join us there if you're still looking in that career mode, you're looking for your next thing. Some people will be in a job. I bet many of you today are in a job, but you're like, you know what? I'm not quite where I want to be. And we'll jump on the call. This would be one of those to attend because they're specifically going to be talking about career fit. In May, we're going to talk about how to drive your career forward, and we're going to be utilizing some strengths-based assessments. You're going to get a free assessment that will be sent out to you ahead of time. You can take that assessment if you would like, and then we're going to talk about how to utilize that in your career search. Let's see, I think it's in April. It's not live yet, but look for this. We're also doing a virtual career fair that is going to have employers, about 20 employers on the line that are hiring for both remote and virtual positions. So look for that one. It's specifically going to be for a city out in Arizona, but they're hiring for both virtual and in person, and that should be live in the next couple of days. So look for that one. And then if you are in Arizona, the city of Chandler, we are working with them, and we're going to be doing an advanced manufacturing expo in person with some of the great semiconductor and advanced manufacturing companies that are out here that are all hiring. So look for that in your email or on the website as well. Thank you so much to all of our volunteers today. It takes a lot of people to make these things happen. And so we are so grateful for you. If you are interested in volunteering, please reach out to us. We have different types of roles available. Today, these are the professionals that are certified or professionals in their field that are volunteering for our breakout rooms. And so thank you. Thank you so much for over the 15 years that we've been doing this. It's primarily run on volunteers, and we could not do it without. Thanks, Joey, so much for dropping in the chat the link if you would like to volunteer. Another question that was asked is, will we be invited to these events? Absolutely. We send out an email every Monday to anyone that has registered for any of our events announcing what's coming up that week. And so you'll be on that email distribution. You'll also get an email after today with a recap of today, and you'll get a link directly to our events. All right, thank you all so much for being here. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, so always looking for donations. If you are interested in giving back after you land, we would be so honored to be able to utilize your donation for helping the next person the next person in line. And so you can go check out our website. There's a donate option under the About Us tab, and we're super grateful that you are here and that you are paying it forward so we can continue doing this work. I want you all to know that our team, both of the volunteers, our team of staff, are just so committed to your success, and we are hopeful that you found real resources today, that you hang on and jump in the breakout rooms, and that you have some hope moving forward in what you're looking for. I just want you to know that myself, our team, we are just praying for each of you that you do land into the career of your dreams. So grateful you're here. I'm going to jump into the breakout sessions next, and so that you can go talk to the experts that you want to talk to. Okay, so here's just some information of the breakout rooms. Oh, let me get there. Okay, so I'm going to open up the breakout rooms, and my expert on this had to drop off the call. So just give me 1 second. It's me today. Okay, so the breakout rooms I'm going to launch them right now. And where you're going to find them is on the bottom of your screen. There is going to be a icon that says breakout rooms. And so go ahead, and they should be open. And so our coaches, you guys can go ahead and enter the breakout rooms. Are you guys seeing them yet? Maybe I don't. Okay, maybe I need to broadcast. No, broadcast.